So we're now going to add dynamic host configuration protocol. This will allow us to hand out IP addresses and some other information to any hosts that join our network. So yet again we're going to add a role-in feature. Again, role based, we've only got the one server, and we want DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol, and again it recommends some features that we'll add. We'll work our way through the wizard. It says you should have one static IP address, which we have, and you should also plan your subnets, scopes and exclusions out, and I have those already to hand. So again, we will install them and we will wait for the installation to happen. And it's now installed DHCP, and again there's a little exclamation mark arrived telling us that we need to complete the configuration. I'm not going to use the wizard that comes with Server Manager. I much prefer the one that's available down here on our administrative tools. So scrolling down we find DHCP, and I'll just maximize it so we can see a little bit clearer. The first thing it's important to do is you'll notice that they're both disabled. They've got a little red downward facing arrow, and this is for security, to save people setting up rogue DHCP servers on a network. So we right click and we authorize the server. It won't ask us for a username and password because we are logged in as an admin user, and I'm going to cheat slightly and refresh the screen just to save time, and there we have them up and running. But IP4 is blank, and it tells us that we have to add a scope. A scope is basically a range of IP addresses along with extra configuration. So we will right click and do a new scope. A wizard appears once again. We'll give it a scope name and a description if we require. It then asks us for the start IP address, so I can use 10.1.1.2 because 1.1.1 is reserved for the IP for the server, and we're going to stop at 10.1.2.1. and if you remember earlier on we had a /16 network, so we'll put that information in as well. It says, do I want an exclusion? We're not going to do any exclusions at the moment, but certain IP addresses can be blanked out of that range. You put in a start IP and an end IP. If it's a single address, just a start IP. How long are you going to hand it out? Well, this is a tricky one. On a wired network you probably could give machines quite a long period of time. On a wireless network you want to give them a considerably less period of time. For wired, 8 days. For wireless, maybe as little as only 3 hours. I'm going to assume we've got a fairly stable wireless network, and I'm going to give them it out for 6 hours out here. Do you want to configure any additional options? Well, yes, you always need to, I think. So we'll say yes, and we can give it an IP address for a default gateway or router. We don't have one, we will add that later on, but at the moment we'll just skip it. And it asks for a DNS server. Well, because we put in the IP address earlier as the IP address of the server, you'll notice it's put it in here already, so that's one of the reasons I do it. Saves us a bit of work there. It asks about WINs. WINs is when you have net BIOS names, but DNS will do that for us, and we don't need to do it. Then I want to activate this scope and finish. So there we've got our scope. We can see our address pool. We don't have any leases currently. We will come back and do reservations in a few seconds, and we can see the additional information we're handing out. IP address of the DNS server, this machine, and the fact it's going to be part of Dillydale Limited at the moment. So we have DNS configured. One of the things that DNS can do is hand out an identical IP address to a machine every time it requests one. This is what's called a reservation. So we can do a new reservation. We can give it a name. We'll just call this one laptop. You choose the IP address that you want to hand out. In my case, I'm going to use 10.1.1.200. Then you put the MAC address in with no separators. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the manufacturer ID, then 7890 AB as the unique ID, and we'll just call this laptop reservation. Then we decide if we're going to support DHCP, i.e. a software based request, or a boot from a hardware based address, or the most simple one, just support both. We click add, nothing seems to happen, but if we hit the close button, there's a reservation sitting there waiting to go, and it'll get the same IP addresses for DNS and the same domain name. And on leases it says it's sitting there, but it's currently inactive. So we've managed to do a reservation.